Hi everyone, I'm William Smith, a Partner Program Manager here with Jamf, and today we're going to be talking about things undiscovered or forgotten. For several years, I was an engineer delivering Jumpstarts for Casper and later for Jamf Pro 10. Today, Jamf calls these onboardings. These are visits with you, the customer, by a Jamf certified engineer for 1, 2, or 3 days of training to get you up to speed on your new Jamf Pro server. Jamf still offers this training for new customers and even admin retraining for Jamf Pro admins who weren't part of the original onboarding. For those of you who've been through an onboarding, you know this is a fire hose of information. Onboarding engineers try to teach you as much as possible in just a short amount of time, and quite often a lot of information gets lost, is forgotten, or maybe it was never discussed because it wasn't critical to the onboarding. With the help of some of my fellow engineers here at Jamf, I put together a list of some of these lost, forgotten, or never discussed topics we think new Jamf Pro admins should know. As time permits, we'll keep going. Let's get started. Number 1, many Jamf Pro admins are actually Windows admins. I started my career managing Windows 95, Windows NT, in addition to Mac OS 8. It's my experience that's taught me the goals of management are the same for both operating systems. We need security and usability, and the tools for managing those operating systems are very much alike. Here's a cheat sheet for you. For example, Jamf Pro is a management platform for Macs, much like SCCM is a management platform for Windows. They both have a type of zero-touch enrollment, tools for deployment and remote management, and even the same file types, just with different file extensions. What you need to know is Mac OS and Windows have a lot in common, and you probably know more about the other platform than you think. Sadly, there's still a lot of prejudice on both sides where admins don't want to touch the other platform, but knowing the other platform's lingo will help you communicate and get along with your counterparts in IT. 2, when your organization purchases computers, iPhones, and iPads, you want your vendor to automatically add your devices to Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager. That's required if you want to use automated device enrollment for zero-touch deployments, where you simply drop ship your devices to your end users. However, there are times when this doesn't happen. Maybe your school received a donation, but instead of money, you received new or used iPads. Or maybe your business had an executive who decided to go to the Apple Store and purchase a customized Mac on their credit card. Apple Configurator can help you add these devices to your Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager account using something called provisional enrollment. Your devices will be provisionally enrolled for 30 days. Think of it like a trial enrollment. If after 30 days the management profile remains on the device, it becomes permanently added to your Apple account. To provisionally enroll iPhones and iPads, you'll need to use Apple Configurator on a Mac, as seen on the left. And to provisionally enroll Macs, you'll need to use Apple Configurator on a phone or iPad, as seen on the right. You can either scan your Macs or use a PIN to start the process. Number 3, Jamf Cloud customers get more than just a Jamf Pro server on the internet. Their instances are automatically upgraded by our cloud operations group, who also maintains the hardware and database. It comes with a Jamf Cloud distribution point with unlimited storage for installer packages, iOS apps, and ebooks. And instances are backed up multiple times each day and saved for 30 days. Jamf Cloud customers can also request a free sandbox instance for testing and development. If you'd prefer not to try out that fancy new workflow for 4 policies, 6 scripts, and 8 configuration profiles in your production environment, or you simply want to test in a clutter-free environment, a Jamf Cloud Sandbox instance is for you. Again, it's part of your Jamf Cloud subscription, just like the Jamf Cloud distribution point. Reach out to your customer success team or contact Jamf support to get one spun up. It only takes a few minutes. This leads into number 4. Once you've perfected your workflow in a sandbox instance, you need to get all those policies, scripts, and profiles over to your production instance. There's no need to copy and paste between your browser windows to do this, Let Jamf Migrator do the work for you. This is a tool written by Leslie Halou, who's one of my coworkers here at Jamf. He's made copying items like policies, scripts, and groups and configuration profiles from one Jamf Pro server to another easy. It's perfect for moving objects from your Jamf Cloud Sandbox instance to your Jamf Cloud production instance. It takes just a few seconds, and you'll guarantee you won't misspell or copy something incorrectly. If you're troubleshooting, use Jamf Migrator to copy just the objects that you need from your production instance to your sandbox instance. You can test changes, tweak settings, and there until you've perfected your workflow, and then copy them back to production. Leslie has made what could be a tedious and error-prone process simple and error-free. But wait, there's more. I want to call out a few more apps that Leslie has made. These solve some of the more challenging problems with managing a Jamf Pro instance. You'll find all of these either on Jamf's GitHub site or Leslie's personal GitHub site, BigRat. The first is for Jamf Cloud customers only, Jamf Status. This is a menu bar app for Jamf Pro administrators to alert them when there's an open issue with Jamf Cloud. It watches the Jamf status page on the right, and if there's an incident or an alert, the icon changes color and the app displays a notification. Jamf status information comes to the administrator. The administrator doesn't need to check the website. The second is also Jamf Cloud only. Jamf Cloud Package Replicator, or Jamf CPR. If you've ever just needed to download one of your packages from the Jamf Cloud distribution point, or make a copy that, or maybe copy that package from your sandbox instance to your production instance, Jamf CPR will let you do that without having to create and run a policy. The last app, Prune, is useful to help you clean up your Jamf Pro server, whether on premises or in Jamf Cloud. It'll help you identify unused scripts, groups, packages, and more. You can delete them immediately or just create a report. And again, you'll find Jamf Status on Jamf's GitHub site listed at the bottom left. You'll find the others on Leslie's GitHub site listed at the bottom right. Number 6. I've mentioned Jamf Cloud a lot. It's a great service that eliminates a lot of headaches around having to maintain your own server environment. This is one for anyone considering migrating their on-premises Jamf Pro server to Jamf Cloud, but has concerns about re-enrolling their devices. Jamf will let you keep your URL for your on-premises server to avoid re-enrolling. Here's what happens. About a week before your migration, we'll have you reduce the time to live for your DNS record that points to your on-premises server to the shortest time possible. That could be 5 minutes or maybe an hour. We have a migration service to help you copy your database from your on-premises server to your Jamf Cloud instance. And when everything is ready, you simply instruct your network engineer to point your URL to Jamf Cloud. As your devices check in, they'll start talking with the Jamf Cloud server. At this point, you can decommission your on-premises server. There's no need to redo your APNS certificate or Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager tokens. Everything moves over. As far as your devices are concerned, they're still talking to the same server. If you're interested in migrating to Jamf Cloud, reach out to your customer success team or contact Jamf support. Number 7 comes from another one of my coworkers, Sean Pham. Sean's a professional services engineer who onboards new customers, migrates existing customers to Jamf Cloud, and works with them on special projects. In Jamf Pro, let's navigate to Settings, Push Certificates, MDM Push Notification Certificates. Most anyone who's gone through a Jamf Pro onboarding or has managed Jamf Pro for a few years knows this certificate needs renewing annually. I've clicked this little information icon next to the Apple ID field. It's telling us what we need to do. When renewing this certificate, it's imperative you renew it using the same Apple ID that created it. You can't change this account. If you do, you'll need to re-enroll your devices, which can be kind of painful. Do yourself a favor, check this field. If it's empty, verify which Apple ID you used to fill it in now. It's just a note to your future self or another future admin to make sure they're using the correct Apple ID. You'll thank yourself, or your successor will thank you. By the way, the email address you use for your Apple ID should be accessible to you and your peers who help you manage Jamf Pro. It can be as simple as a shared mailbox that all of you can monitor, or if you already have an address, you can use it using a service like Office 365 or Google. Consider using plus addressing where you can, just by adding a plus sign followed by any text just before the @ symbol. Apple will treat this like a real email address, but you can filter mail from this address just by looking at that little tag. Or you might want to create a distribution list that sends to multiple people. These all still look like email addresses to Apple. Number 8, pay attention to alerts, information, and messages from Jamf Engage. What's Jamf Engage, you ask? You'll find it under Settings, and it's on by default. It does 2 things. I'll click Edit and enlarge the text to make this easier to read. You'll receive a request not to disable it, but you do have that option if you need it. First, it collects data about where administrators are clicking around in Jamf Pro and sends that data anonymously to Jamf to help them understand how customers are using the product, which in turn helps us improve the product. Jamf uses the data from you as part of a larger data set across all customers with Engage enabled. Again, Jamf receives this information anonymously. We don't track which customers are sending us this data. The second thing Engage does is of benefit to you, our customers. On the dashboard, you have a quick and easy way to access documentation, Jamf Nation, and training, or open a support case, suggest a feature, and check Jamf Cloud status updates. It also lets Jamf inform you in near real time when a new version of Jamf Pro is available, as well as minor updates. It'll tell you if they're rescheduling Jamf Cloud upgrades, or it'll provide you information about something important, like this Microsoft alert about Office 365 authentication. Additionally, when you see little information icons near an item in Jamf Pro, there's something you should be paying attention to. Click the icon for a pop-up message. Here's that same message about Office 365 authentication tied directly to that feature in Jamf Pro. All of these messages are displayed to each user in Jamf Pro server to ensure no one misses anything important. One person viewing the message doesn't clear it for everyone. Since we just discussed viewing important messages, that leads me into number 9. With every release of Jamf Pro, or Jamf product for that matter, you should read the release notes. Thanks to Jamf Engage, they're easy to get to. On the Jamf Pro dashboard, we'll click back to the Resources Center, and under Announcements, we'll look for the message about releases like this one. The message will include a link to the release notes. When we click the link, it takes us to new features and enhancements introduced in that version. This page takes just a few seconds to skim over the headers, and if you find anything interesting, you can read the details. Next, look at important notices. There is one new item added for this version of Jamf Pro, but the page includes a running history of new items for several versions back. Make sure you haven't missed anything. Now, don't just look at what's new. You should be paying attention to what's deprecated and planned for future releases. For example, the deprecation and end of life for Jamf Remote was announced at least 5 versions ago, or more than 6 months in advance. There's no reason you should be surprised when major product changes happen that could affect your workflows. Check for resolved issues. You may have been annoyed by something you thought was specific to your environment, or you may have found a product issue and opened a case. This is where you can find whether it was fixed in the latest version. And don't forget, if you don't see one of your product issues closed in this version, you can log into your Jamf account to view issues. Look for Pro under the Products area on the left and click View Known Issues. You can browse or search for open issues. I like browsing as a list. It's far more compact view, and I like setting the returned results to something like 25 or 50 items to avoid a lot of clicking. Finally, here's a useful tip. Have you ever just Googled for Jamf Pro information and visited the page only to find it's from an earlier version? If you discover you've landed on an older area of Jamf's documentation, try removing the version number from the URL and pressing return. Many of the documentation pages are designed to take you to the current version of the same page when no version is specified. Here's one I really like from one of my coworkers, David Raby. David, one of our senior professional services engineers. For number 10, let's take a look at how we can both reduce clutter in our distribution points as well as save a few clicks each time we need to update a package. In Jamf Pro, I'll click Settings, Computer Management, click Packages, and then scroll to the bottom. And here's what I'm talking about. I have half a dozen packages for VLC, each one slightly a newer version. The oldest one, though, is 2 years old. I've long since started deploying newer packages, but I've never made a plan to come back in later and delete those old ones. It's not unusual this happens for all of my packages. This is a great way to avoid package clutter from the start. The next time I have an update, I won't create a new package in Jamf Pro. Instead, I'll edit the latest package. In this case, the latest is for version 3.0.16. When I click the upload button, I'm prompted to choose for my new package. And by the way, if I wanted to save a couple of clicks, I could drag my new package right onto this choose button. I'm going to upload the latest package, which is for 3.0.17. Remember, many installer packages like VLC can act as both a full installer as well as an updater. After it uploads, I want you to notice the display name. It's been updated to the name of the new package. And this is something another one of my coworkers, Mike Caduce, who's also a professional services engineer, suggests doing. Take advantage of that notes field to capture information like who uploaded the package and the data and the date. If someone has a question, they'll know who to contact. Let's save. What we've just done is change the package for the existing package record. We didn't create a new package record. If I go look at an existing policy for installing VLC and inspect the version 3.0.16 package that was added earlier, I see the new package is now part of that policy. I didn't have to make a new policy, and I didn't have to update the existing policy. The same happens in other parts of Jamf Pro too. While I wouldn't necessarily add VLC to a pre-stage enrollment, they can include packages to be installed during the macOS Setup Assistant. I should also see my 3.0.16 package has been updated to 3.0.17 here. And let's look in one more place, patch management. This also affects existing patch policies, which you may or may not want. All your older policies connected to the same package record will be updated to the new package, but you'll still need to add the package to the latest patch definition. That's because new patch definitions are, by default, not associated to any package yet. You still have to do that manually. You'll need to decide if this workflow is useful or not, depending on how you deploy your software or patch existing software, but you can sure avoid a lot of package clutter down the road, as well as a lot of new policies and maintenance. 11, do yourself and your fellow Jamf Pro administrators a favor. Enable Jamf Pro administrators to reset their own passwords instead of having to reach out to a peer to get it unlocked if they forget their password. This has a couple of requirements. First, we need to ensure we have an SMTP server enabled in our Jamf Pro settings. This allows Jamf Pro to send an email with a reset link to the administrator trying to log in. I'm using Microsoft's SMTP relay service as part of Office 365 for my server here. Next, let's go back to System Settings and look at the Jamf Pro accounts. I have several accounts for multiple purposes. The first one we'll examine is Martin's. We see his account has an email address associated with it, but notice that it's an LDAP account from Active Directory. His account's not stored in Jamf Pro, so Jamf Pro can't help him reset his password. But if we look at Clark's account, not only does it have an email address, it's also a standard user. That means the account is stored in Jamf Pro, which means Jamf Pro can reset his password. Enabling password resets is part of Jamf Pro's password policy. I'm going to edit the policy, scroll down to the bottom, and turn on Allow User to Reset Password. While I'm at it, I'm going to set my password policy to lock accounts after 3 failed attempts, and then I'm going to enable Allow User to Reset Password when account is locked. This helps me safeguard against brute force attempts where a bot is trying to a dictionary attack against my server. That's it. All I need to do is save my settings and test. Here at the login window, I'll try to log in as Clark. I've forgotten the password, but after trying to log in, I now see a reset password link below the login field. I'll click the link and then click the button to send me an email to reset my password. Remember, this only works for Jamf Pro accounts. It can't reset passwords for an external directory service like Active Directory or Azure AD. 12. The Jamf Pro dashboard is a great place to get an overview of what's happening with configuration profiles and policies. But occasionally, we want to check something that's not on our dashboard, and we really don't want to have to add it to our dashboard just to get a quick update. Check out the built-in dashboards. All you have to do is view your policies page and click the dashboard button in the upper right corner next to the list button. It'll show you all of your policies and your current statuses. They're the same objects you'd add to your Jamf Pro dashboard just by enabling Show in Jamf Dashboard at the top of each policy. Likewise, if you click Configuration Profiles, you can click its dashboard button to get an overview of what's deployed and what's still pending. Note that if you're using categories to group your policies and profiles, the dashboard are organized by category first and then alphabetically. Lucky number 13. Whether you know how to script, most Jamf Pro admins will deal with scripts at some point. You might write them yourself, or you might use a script posted by someone else on Jamf Nation. Most scripts are used with policies, but they may not be written necessarily for policies, which is fine. They still work. But I like feedback that lets me know when something is succeeding or failing. I'm going to show you how to add 2 example echo statements to a script to give us more feedback. If you're not familiar with echo, it's a command you can use in your script to simply print some text. That text might be a variable, which is a placeholder for some text to come, or it might simply be an exact word or phrase. It worked. It didn't work. What's important to know is that what you echo in your script gets added to your policy log. Let's take a look. Here's a simple script that I can include in a policy to rename a computer to its serial number. The first line is called a shebang, and that starts every script to tell your Mac what to use to run it. In this case, it's Z shell. Below the shebang, a couple of lines start with a hashtag or pound symbol. Those are just comments to help someone reading the script understand what's happening. The first comment says the script is going to read the serial number from the computer. Following that is the command, and it's going to put the serial number into a variable at the beginning of the line called serial number, all one word. The second comment says it's going to set all three computer names to the value of the serial number variable, which is the computer's serial number. If you weren't aware, Macs have three different places where you can set their names depending on how they'll be viewed on the network. Each of the next three lines sets one of those three computer names. If I run the script without the echo commands as part of the policy, I'll get this log telling me what's just happened. The script worked, but I'm not told anything about whether the script succeeded or failed. Now, that's not very useful, especially if I'm troubleshooting. Here's where echo statements in your script come in really, really handy. I've added one just before the command to tell me what I'm getting ready to do. And I've added another one after the command to tell me the result that came back. The echo after that, again, tells me what I'm getting ready to do. And then I'm adding some more advanced echo statements to each of my commands to set computer names. The double ampersand means echo success if the command before the double ampersand succeeded. The two vertical bars mean or. In other words, if the command didn't work or that it failed. Altogether, each of these lines is saying, run a command, echo success if it worked, echo fail if it didn't work. Here's what the policy log looks like after the script with the echo commands. I'm getting a lot more feedback that it just ran. Now I'm getting feedback about what the script did and whether it was successful. Again, the more information you can return to your policy logs, the easier it'll be to troubleshoot when something goes wrong. Number 14. I love utilities for macOS, and here's one of my favorites. Instead of opening the Mac App Store and downloading a macOS installer, use Armin Briegel's Download Full Installer app. It's free, and it's posted on his GitHub page. It does one thing really, really well. It allows you to download any of the current supported macOS installers for Monterey and Big Sur. What you'll get is technically an Apple installer package. This is the same installer that you'd receive if you ran the software update command in Terminal. All you have to do is double-click, and you'll find the Install macOS Monterey or Install macOS Big Sur application in your Applications folder. Even better, upload the package directly to Jamf Pro, and you're ready to deploy it to your Macs as an upgrade for use with the policy or an erase install for the operating system. Number 15 comes from one of my coworkers, Sonia Rodriguez, a professional services engineer here at Jamf. This is what I like to call a better practice because I don't believe there's ever a best practice that everyone should follow. But a better practice is generally the right practice for most organizations. This better practice applies to both macOS and iOS devices, but I'm showing macOS. Jamf Pro has a lot of pre-made payloads to help you create configuration profiles. Payloads are a collection of settings that are generally related, like restrictions or login window. When creating configuration profiles, the better practice is to limit the number of payloads per profile. Generally, that's just one payload per profile. You might add 2 or 3 payloads to the same configuration profile if they're related or work together. For example, I might create one profile that works with the network payload to manage Wi-Fi and the certificate payload to acquire a user certificate to access Wi-Fi. What you want to avoid is adding unrelated payloads to a configuration profile. This way, you'll end up creating modular profiles that are smaller and easier to manage individually. And you especially want to avoid monolithic profiles or adding all of your settings and payload to a single configuration profile. Here's why. At some point, you'll need to update a setting. Let's assume you need to do something like add an extension to Google Chrome. When you update your configuration profile in Jamf Pro to save your devices don't update their configuration profiles with the change. Instead, what they do is remove the old profile and then add the new profile. If all of your settings are in a single configuration profile and they all get reapplied, then they all get reapplied. If you're managing the dock, for example, your end users are going to notice the Finder restarting the dock, which makes it momentarily disappear and the screen flash. That can be confusing to them if they don't understand what's just happened. Keep your configuration profiles modular. Your devices can easily handle dozens of more smaller profiles. There's really no such thing as too many. Unfortunately, that's all the time I have right now, but as you can imagine, I have dozens of more items I'd love to share with you. If you found this session useful, please leave feedback and let me know. Maybe we can do this again very, very soon.